Hello, welcome to the Devil on the G String. About an hour later, I arrived at the bar Usami had run to. There weren't any customers in the dark establishment. Only Usami and the Yakuza who had already arrived were there, surrounding and interrogating the bar owner.
わかりました。では、見かけたら連絡してください。
The shop owner, currently freaked out by the Yakuza, must have figured Usami was one of them. He nodded earnestly. How's it coming? I asked Usami for a report.
残念です。もう一本のところだったのですが。逃げられました。不意に電話がかかってきたと思ったら、店を出て行ったそうです。私が着くちょっと前のことです。
Did you get a name? He might have given the bar owner his card before.
それが、不愛想なお客さんらしくて、自分は革命家だと名乗ったっきりで、いつも一人で飲んでるんだそうです。
A revolutionary. I said it aloud as my mind digested the information. Speaking of which, the threat letter from Mao had sort of an idealistic feel to it. Anyway, we already know what he looks like. It's only a matter of time. Nobody can live in this city and hide from the eyes of a Zygonzo's organization. My mother and I were found right away when we were death dodging.
今日のところはこれまでですかね。
Usami looked unready to accept this defeat.
共犯者を見つけたところで魔王にたどり着けるのでしょうか。
I understand your skepticism, but he's our only lead at the moment.
それです。
Usami spoke directly.
どこかで打開しなくては。いつまでも魔王の敷いたレールに乗っていたら我々は地獄行きです。
I felt the need to ask this of Usami, whose grave expression worried me. Is Mao really that terrifying?
脅迫状の文面に騙されてはいけません。先日身代金を奪われたことを忘れましたか？
But let me put it this way. It was only because he had us normal citizens as opponents that his plan worked, right?
警察相手には通じないと？
Well, just look at it. We're in the same situation here. Mao continues to avoid police intervention. Usami closed her eyes and shook her head.
マジシャンは別にマジシャンを相手に商売しているわけではありません。魔王は観客の程度というものを心得ています。つまり我々は遊ばれているということです。
She has a point.
それが証拠に魔王は物証には細心の注意を払っています。
The evidence trails we've had so far are the cell phone Mao gave you and the threat letter. Only two. True, we couldn't get any clues from that throwaway cell phone.
脅迫状もそうです。
You mean that style was intentional?
すべて万一脅迫状が警察の専門家の手に渡った場合を想定してのことです。
I guess. You mean in the event it got put up to handwriting analysis?
それだけではなく、言語心理学の専門家が文章から犯人の特徴を分析します。出身や国籍、性格や IQ なんかも割り出せるんだそうです。
Whoa. So you're saying he's trying to play dumb?
何が芸でつながりですか？何が花紙に使わせてもらったですか？某世紀末アニメの第1話に出てくるモヒカンですら、こんなもん花紙にもなりゃしねえと言いますよね。
Only hardcore fans would memorize such a line. What the heck am I supposed to know about that? Then why did he handwrite it? Taking into account that the threat letter might be analyzed by the police, wouldn't it be a smart choice to just use a computer from the onset?
だからこそ私はまず罠だと思いました。そしてこの文章には必ず仕掛けがあるのだと。手書きでしかありえない細工が施してあるのだろうと。
This theory wasn't so crackpot after all. And you were right. There were traces of words on the envelope. And the murder nearly succeeded.
魔王はいずれ警察と戦うつもりなのでしょう。そうとしか思えないほど慎重です。
Then now would be the perfect time to catch Mao. Usami nodded deeply.
何のつもりかわかりませんが、 魔王は私のような取るに足らない人間と遊んでくれています。その慢心につけ込む余地があればいいのですが。
Oh, he's not just playing with you. He's involved Gonzo in things this time.
はい。もう一度言いますが、魔王は観客の程度に合わせたマジックを用いてくるでしょう。
Meaning? Usami sighed before glaring at me with a defined sharpness in her eyes.
椿の時より大きな被害が出るということです。
Okay. Kanon, congratulations on yesterday. You've made it into the finals after winning by a huge margin. You got nothing to say about that?
正直フリーがいまいちでした。
Is that it? Is it because you didn't choose a good piece?
はて、
She tilted her head.
みんなはそういうね。
Do you feel otherwise?
とにかくのんちゃんは完璧だったよ。のんちゃんは悪くないです。
Well, it's not like you can change the song at this point. You'll just have to buckle down and go for it. I'm sure she doesn't need me to tell her what she already knows.
じゃあ練習行ってきまーす。
Then I'll go to school myself. It seems that Kanon won't really be able to go to school until New Year's, since she'll be continually busy with various competitions.
おはようございます。
Oh, I figured you'd be taking a break from school at the moment.
この前さりげなくサボってしまったんで、本当なら例の共犯者の行方を追いたいんですが。
You know, Gonzo's so mad he's spitting fire from his eyes. He started pressuring the clubs and moneylenders under his umbrella into helping him find the guy. The ladies from the clubs are posing as hostesses and asking customers while the rest pass his photo around everywhere. With all that, he's probably too afraid to even open the door.
朗報を待ちましょう。
After reaching her seat, Usami seemed to sink into deep thought. She rested her chin on the back of her hands.
おい、京介。
Oh, Ichi, thanks for yesterday.
んなことより、ちゃんと約束は果たせよ。
Right. Promise, you said?
ああ、殺す。
Oh, right. We were gonna point out the great submission of Miss Noriko. I don't think it's going to work, though. I hear she's in love with someone.
んなことは知ってんだよ。
Then it's hopeless.
おめえよ。だったら、相手の野郎を殺す策を練るのがおめえの仕事だろうが。
Bro, look, I'd have to kill half the darn world before she decided to pick you.
ねえ、ちょっと宇佐美さん、聞いてよ。
はい、聞いてますよ。教室に来る前に職員室に寄ってのりこ先生とお話ししてきました。今付き合って1ヶ月目だそうです。よって無理です。
Just give up, bro. Call it bad timing and leave it at that.
なんだよてめえら。
Ichi's expression underwent a severe contortion.
利用するだけ利用してボイかよ。そんな程度だったのかよ、チキショー。
落ち着いてください、H さん。この度の件、誠に申し訳なく思っております。
そうだよ、邪悪な策を用意しておくって言ったのに。
ですから代替案を用意しました。私の友人を紹介しましょう。
は？何それ？
H さんは年上の女性がお好きですね。
まあね。
のりこ先生もそうですが、ロングがお好きですね。
黒髪ロングがベストだね。
当然身長が高い方がいいわけですね。
頭も良くなきゃダメだよ。僕と釣り合うくらい。
なるほどなるほど。
あと世話好きじゃないとダメ。僕の話を聞いてくれる人じゃないと。
めちゃめちゃ聞き上手ですよ。
本当？
He's practically floating.
近々ご紹介します。それでどうかご勘弁を。
ものによるね。君を許すかどうかは。
わかりました。ではそのうちに。よっ
しゃ、なんか期待できそうだぜ。
Eiichi's mood must have improved dramatically as he lightly skipped away. Hey, Usami, about that friend of yours. Don't tell me you want to hook Eiichi up with that model-looking chick Tokito.
はい、それが精一杯でした。
Well, she's certainly beautiful. Eiichi will probably be very happy.
だといいんですがね。
It sounds like there's some kind of obstacle. Did you contact her?
あ、いえ、しなきゃなぁとは思ってるんですがね。
Looks like Usami is really bad at dealing with her. Iki-chan, it's been a long time. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm keeping busy these days. It was lunch break, and I was making a business call. There's certainly been a lot of trouble lately. Take this call, for example. We're talking about a club which refuses to select the Izai Corporation as its preferred wine distributor. Another group has been openly stepping onto our territory. I won't be able to avoid talking to Gonzo about it for much longer.
みんなでスケート見てたんだけどね。ヒロアキもはしゃいでたな。
Tsubiki was as bright as ever.
いや、まったく。あの分じゃ世界は確実だな。
Look, Usami, you didn't watch a second of it.
これでも H さんから DVD 借りてみたんですよ、ゆうべ。
Is that so?
あ、椿。大事なこと忘れてたんだが、あの携帯、まだお前が持ってるよな。
携帯って、ああ、うん。
I suppose she means the phone Mao gave her.
明日にでも返してくれ。
また何かあったの？
Suddenly, dark clouds hovered over Tsubiki's face.
何もないでもないでもない。
どっち？
Listen, Tsubuki, if you try to take Usami seriously, you're only gonna wear yourself out. She looked at Usami, then me.
何かできることあったら言ってね。
Despite knowing that something had happened, she still chose not to say anything. Speaking of Hiroaki-kun, he's starting elementary school next year, right? We passed the remaining time with shallow discussion. Afternoon came before we knew it. And immediately following school's conclusion, I had an appointment with Gonzo. It's good to see you. I threw a word of greeting toward a man in a suit who seemed like a guard, and stepped into the courtyard of Gonzo's estate. I accompanied the other. A bodyguard with the build of a wild beast stood a few feet away. He was as still as a statue. After I made my salutations and sat down, Gonzo spoke.
Shin'ei kai da.
Shin'ei. Are they trying to expand their territory? The Shin'ei group favors a militaristic approach to the actors of power struggle. They're one of the top organizations within the Solo Alliance. They refuse to engage in fraud, intimidation, or coercion, and consider even drugs to be an absolute taboo. I suppose one would say they're living in the past, since they're extremely insistent about order and loyalty and whatnot. There aren't too many of them overall, but what members they have are fiercely devoted. Naturally, they don't get along too well with Gonzo's Sonoyama group, who would do anything to turn a profit.
年末に連合の老人どもを交えた集まりがある。それに向けて生きり立っているのだ。
Lasers. I guess he's referring to the men who lead the top solo groups. Izai Gonzo must truly fear nothing.
損害は出ているのか。
Everything is still under control at the moment. Well, there was a drunken brawl at a bar on Central Boulevard yesterday, but we don't know yet whether or not it was caused by people from Shin'ei. My words were riddled with fear. Fear of the blanket expressionless gaze Gonzo wore.
よし潰す
A member of an offending group has caused trouble in an establishment controlled by our organization. An incident like this is generally resolved after the offender commits Usami, a procedure wherein the man hacks a joint off his own little finger in order to show penance. However, Shin'ei is yet to call it attention. But forgive me for speaking out of turn, but I heard an interesting rumor from an informant. We received word that a certain group within the Solo Alliance is importing large quantities of weapons from Russia. Gonzo gave me a glare that intimidated me into silence.
奴らは100匹にも満たないこちらは1000を超えるたとえ獲物が短期間銃を乱射しても俺は言うまだまだ死ねえ屍が盾になると
I could only silently nod.
お前は魔王を探せ人も今まで通り去る
Understood. Everything that needed to be said has been. After partying with Gonzo and calming down, my cell phone rang. The call was from my mother. Hey, yeah, how are you? What? Your health? Well, that doesn't sound very good. Yes, I'll take some time to visit you. Please take care of yourself. It was a very long phone call. What a nightmare. I wish I could fly over to Mom's side right now. But Lord knows what Gonzo would have to say about that. He just demanded that I find Mom. Even if my mother's ill, there's not a darn thing I can do about it. Gonzo. I withstood the torment of my helplessness as I solemnly trod the road home. I got home early and ate dinner with Kanon.
どうしたの？ぼんやりして。
I was thinking about Mom. Apparently my expression betrayed my grim worries. It's possible that Kanon understood, but she didn't push the topic.
まあいいや。あのね、兄さん、聞いて。
That's the way Kanon has survived up until now. It's not because she's particularly sensitive or anything. She just doesn't want to get involved with any trouble.
のんちゃん、明日オフなのです。
You've got a break?
だから守って。
Protect you? Something must be bothering her. She's pouting.
いっぱい来るの、テレビの人、雑誌の人、企業の人。なんでのんちゃんの休みとか知ってるのかな？
Just get rid of them properly.
今の時期はさすがにお断りしてるんだよ。でも来るの。忙しいところすみません、みたいな。仕事のことじゃなくて、個人的にファンなんで、みたいな。
That's just a bit of recon before they go for the proverbial kill. So you're saying you want me to take you out?
兄さんと遊ぶの1年ぶりくらいだよ。
That long, huh? Still. Well, I guess it's not such a big deal to skip school for a day. If you want to hang out with me, then I guess I just have to suck it up. But no making a big scene out of it.
千葉の遊園地はダメですか？
If you even get within 100 yards of that place, the tabloids will have enough material for a month.
じゃあどうするの？
Well, what do you want to do?
わかんない。
Oh, come on. Don't pull this act on me. You've been practicing every day, so you've had to hold it all in, right?
たまる？何がたまるの？
You know, stress, for example. I just figured you'd want to go have some fun.
へー。
Huh? She says. Fine then. We're just going to spend the day doing nothing. We can rent a movie.
映画ね。うん。何見る？
What do you like?
わかんない。
Alright, let's watch a love story then.
やだ。
Why not?
だって別に大波乱がなくても好きになるもの。思い出の約束とかなくても好きになるもの。のんちゃんはちょっと優しくしてもらえば十分好きになるよ。
I have no idea what she's talking about. Okay, how about a tearjerker then? Like those mother-daughter dramas where the mom's real sweet, but the daughter's just too spoiled to realize it.
ほうほう。じゃあそれ借りてきて。
Guess you didn't catch the implication.
じゃあ寝る。
She dove headfirst into my bed and stopped moving. Hey, would you at least change first? But there was no answer. I should get to bed early today myself. I've been catching strange colds recently. Illnesses and headaches continuously assail me. I sat alone in the dark, examining a photo. Usami Haru. The moment I said the name, a dull ache reared its ugly head in my temple. Usami Haru, is it? I know that name all too well. Unless it's a different Usami. That girl's father was the mastermind who destroyed my family. Besides Mom and Dad, I also have 2 siblings. No, had. One died of a heart disease soon after birth, and the other died in a terrorist attack overseas. Dad is still rotting in a dark cell, awaiting the end of his sentence. Mom's all the way in Hokkaido, tormented by mental illness. And then there's me, who discarded the Samejima name and all it represented for the brand Azai and the sins it implies. So, I wonder, just what is happiness? Only demons exist in this world. And seeing as that's the case, the best I can do is become the lord of these demons, the devil. No, I won't think about such things. Usami's made no mention of it, so she probably just wants to forget about the whole ordeal. Just as I have changed my name to Azai and discarded my past, Usami must have something of her own that drives her. When it's time to lay the cards on the table, will I tell her? It's been so long since I felt so sentimental. Is it because I've been thinking about such unusual things? That night, in my dreams, I saw my mother. The guilt tore at my sleep like a beast within me. Sometimes I ask myself where the turning point in my life had been. Though I never get an answer, my memory is always open to a freezing village in Hokkaido. Behind a wall as thin as paper, in a shack without double-paned windows. The wind and snow battered the roof without remorse. Mom's fingertips, nothing but weak skin wrapped around tired bones, shook violently from the frigid cold. That evening, we were huddled together, just as we were every day, doing our best to endure the cold and the darkness. Mom, can we run away? She shook her head lightly in response, and the bruises she'd received from that monstrous man shined black in the dim lamp.
あんまり引っ越しが続くとお友達もできないでしょ？
I can make friends anywhere.
無理しないの。
You too, Mom. Don't push yourself too hard, either. Her hand gently caressed my emaciated cheekbone. Freezing wind suddenly barraged the room. I poked my head out of the quilt and saw that bear of a man standing in the doorframe. It was Kannu.
Kyousuke! 大丈夫か?
Strangely enough, he was concerned about my health. A man who had beaten me to the brink of consciousness that very day had no right to ask such a question.
すまんかったな。酒飲んでたもんで、ついな。
Kannu sat on the floor, spread out, and began to guzzle the spirit he had brought with him. As I watched him drink, after so casually intruding into the only sanctuary my mother and I held, a sense of fear welled up inside my heart. My back and waist, where he had beat me the hardest, started to burn once again.
怖いか、京介。明日になったら病院に連れてってやるべ。
Mom spoke up.
出てってください。
すまんかったって、この通りだべ。
京介が怖がっています。
I wasn't the only one scared of him. Mom was too.
なあ、仲良くするべ。俺は京介の新しいお父さんになりたいんだわ。
That sentence may never leave me for as long as I live. Thinking about it now, Kannu was a typical violent drunk. A violent, abusive drunk. When he was sober, he played at looking for forgiveness.
少しでも反省なさっているなら、京介に温かい飲み物でも買って与えてもらえませんか？
今は吹雪だ。どこの店も閉まってる。
It was no exaggeration. The snow and wind were stronger than ever. However, the vending machine right around the corner wasn't affected in the least. Kannu took a swig from the bottle.
あったまるぞ、京介。
He pushed the bottle to me. His breath and the smell of alcohol made me dizzy.
やめてください。
いいじゃないか。親子で酒を酌み交わそうってんだ。
Mom came to my side, but Kannu brushed away her hand. He stared at me with lifeless eyes.
飲め。遠慮すんな。
Using all my strength, I closed my frozen lips. My hair stood on end. The mouth of the bottle in front of me was shining, soaked with Kannu's spit.
飲まんと母さんが困るぞ。俺たちは家族だべ。大黒柱の父親に見捨てられたら、お前ら生きていかれんべ。
Mom screamed. She protected me, trying to chase away the scary giant. I get it already. I reached out and grabbed the bottle. However, it was nearly full and incredibly heavy, and my hand slipped in surprise. With a dull sound, the bottle fell on its side. As I watched the liquid flowing out onto the old worn floor, a sound reached my ears.
お父さんの酒だべ。
As I was about to go into a defensive stance, I was yanked up by the collar.
なんま腹立つわ、京介。父さんがせっかく仲良くしようと思ったのに。
Pain, fear, and burning anger assaulted me. I couldn't hold them back anymore. What a joke! What kind of father are you? I immediately felt myself floating in the air. My face was burning and I was seeing stars. Mother's heartfelt screams pounded on my eardrums. My head was being held down against the floor.
なめろ、酒をなめろ。父さんのクリスマスプレゼントだべ。
Christmas. At the time, I only knew that Christmas was supposed to be a day where families share warmth and love. Come to think of it, that was indeed Christmas Day. Just where is God? I wondered as my face was smashed against the alcohol-soaked floor. Shrieking and roaring melted into one. The walls were shaking, but not from the battering of anything as forgiving as the wind. Kannu had grabbed Mom's face and smashed it against the window. He grabbed her hair and cursed as spit flew everywhere. Violence again and again. Eventually, the sound of sobbing drowned the world. Was it me who was crying, or was it my mother? Either way, I couldn't stand to watch another second. I'm sorry.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I squeezed out one final plea with the last of my energy.
ごめんなさい。お父さんだろ。
My heart was frozen. That was the moment all emotion within me died. My eyes fell on the snow outside the window. That snow would go on to emotionlessly cover everything, and for once I understood its mercy. Regret, misery, everything was quick to be buried in this white, frozen world. I'm sorry, Dad. That was the moment I was reborn. My heart was already frozen to the core. I had no feelings whatsoever. One last time, I begged, apathetic. God, please save me. It was only something I muttered without thinking, but God must have heard it. Someone was bashing on the door with great force. The visitor that came despite all that wind and snow kicked down the door and walked in.
邪魔するぞ。
He stepped in magnificently. A body immune to the elements, standing like a monster from the peaks of the snowiest mountain. Behind him, a few other men stepped in without hesitation. There wasn't a single coat among them. Their pitch-black suits were covered with snow.
逃げられると思ったが。
Those cold eyes looked toward my mother. Even as young as I was, I understood that they were here to collect their debt.
なんだてめえらは。
Kanu's eyes opened wide.
てめえこそなんだ。頭に向かって何上等な口聞いてんだ。
Suddenly, one of the men in suits scowled.
こちらのお方はな。
おい。
After the large man, who seemed to be the leader, shot him a glance, the man beside him apologized and stood up.
あんたらヤクザもんか。
The savior at the door had a very similar build to Kannu. However, the air that radiated from him was so different that it was visible at first glance.
てめえはこの親子のなんだ。
俺はなんでもない他人だ。
I suppose that was the limit to his fatherly love.
払え。こいつらが払えない分をてめえが少しでも払え。
ちょっと待てよ。俺は関係ねえって。
The next moment, Kanu's head snapped back. A fist had smashed into his face. He didn't even have time to squeal like a pig before his ears had been twisted tortuously.
俺が誰だか知りたいか。そうか。
He used his other hand to retrieve a card from his front pocket.
やめてくれ。
He pressed a corner of the card to Kanu's ear, laughing coldly. Kanu's eyes were rolling back in his head.
よーく聞け。
Rolling the card into a thin stick, he jammed it into Kanu's ear. Strange alien sounds echoed around the room. So, who are you? Fear and exultation finally slipped out of my mouth. Kanon, who had been a mountainous obstacle to my father and I, had just been silenced in an instant. It wasn't an angel who descended to my aid, but a demon.
さらえ。
The demon didn't even seem to see me. He just ordered his henchmen around. Hands gripped me from all sides, dragging me away. Wait, I'll do anything. Anything. My pleas must have annoyed the men surrounding me as they struck me. Strangely though, despite being hit by a punch, I didn't feel any pain. Please, tell me. That incredible might. Please, let me join you. The scenery of a poor school, someplace I struggled day in, day out without a single friend, suddenly floated before my eyes. As long as I follow this man, no one will scorn me ever again. I'll have the power to protect Mom. My fear was gradually ebbing as anticipation thoroughly flushed it away. Without a doubt, I was getting carried away. They threw me to the ground and stepped on me, but I didn't feel any pain. At the time, my face must have been filled with a pious light of sincere prayer to God. Finally, the demon spoke.
金を返せるか。
Money?
大金だ。
I'll pay it.
嘘つきだな、貴様は。
Sorry?
借金がいくらなのかも知らんくせによく言う。
I'm sorry.
嘘をついても構わんが、嘘が発覚した時は許さんぞ。
Alright.
俺の群れに加わりたいだと。
Yes, please.
なら母親を置いて俺と来い。
Leave, Mom? There's no way I could do that.
その女はしばらく札幌にでも送る。どのみちお前らは一緒には暮らせない。
That unanswerable statement stopped me dead in my tracks.
お前もどうせどこかの施設に預けられる。
The demon's words were absolute in my ears. I believed sincerely that whatever future he saw for me was indeed my destiny. Mom. Our eyes met. As I think back, my face must have been a spectacle of submission and exhaustion. Mom. That thin neck could only shake slightly, silently, to show her fear at losing me. Our unending tragedy had already had her other limits. And I was at mine as well. I could no longer turn back. Take me away, I beg you. Hearing this, a cold laugh came from the demon's thick lips.
母親を捨てたか。
I'm not abandoning her.
お前は物になりそうだ。
No, I swore in my heart. I'm definitely not abandoning her. Having made my decision, I closely followed Azai Gonzo's back. I'll come and get you. I swear. This was the promise I made that day as I walked away from my mother. I never followed through on that promise. Instead, I followed Gonzo through the long, hard years. When I finally had a strong enough financial base to live with Mom, I asked her about it. But I couldn't force a mentally ill woman to leave a place she feels safe in just to bring her home with me. The doctor told me that because Mom had been forced to move so many times, she was absolutely refusing to leave the place she lives at now. All I can do is give her a call once or twice a week and spend a long vacation with her in Hokkaido. She's my only relative. No, I also have a father, Azai Gonzo. Yet, a question has always lingered in my heart. Why did Gonzo make me his foster son? There's a rumor that it allowed Gonzo, Sonoyama's underboss at the time, to impress the head honchos of Soa. Taking in a poor kid with no blood relation was a show of valor. Perhaps he just used me in order to move up the Yakuza ladder. Lord knows Gonzo doesn't care about valor or honor. In any case, I lived away from my mother. And I could never bring myself to stand up to Azai Gonzo, the most powerful lord of Tomenbetsu City's organized crime. If only Gonzo would allow it, I could live closer to Mom. If only. Oh, that was sad. Was Kyousuke's past. The first thing I did the next morning was send a letter and some cash to Mom. After I got home, I dangled the DVD I rented in front of Kanon. It's the one you wanted.
ご苦労。
Kanon gets up really early. And despite the fact that she's taking a day off, she's still bothered to take the time to perfect her personal appearance this morning. Would you like some pastries?
気が利くね。でも水でいいです。
She might look like a complete fool, but she still takes good care of her body. Well then, I'll be in the study.
一緒に見ようよ。
No.
はい。
She knows where the line is. Just shout if anything comes up. I pressed the play button. The player disappeared into the study. Oh, good morning, Kanon. I just woke up. After around 2 hours, I returned to the living room. The movie's credits were scrolling up the screen. I hadn't heard anything for a while, so I thought she might have fallen asleep again.
見終わりました。
Oh, how was it?
泣いた。
Oh. You did not, you liar. You fell asleep, didn't you?
見てたよ。最後ママが死んじゃった。やっぱりいい人が死ぬと悲しいね。
I see. I haven't seen it.
ちょっと質問。
Huh? Oh, what?
この映画はママがいい人でしたが、もし悪い人だったらどうなるの？
I don't know. It'd make the movie kind of tedious, I guess.
グダグダか。
I mean, if a bad person dies, people just scoff and move on, right?
だよね。だよね。
What's on your mind, Kanon?
さーて、次は何して遊ぼうかな。何したらいいと思う？
How about we grab some lunch?
どこ行く？
I don't know yet, so let's just head for Central Boulevard for now.
わかった。用意するね。
She thundered off to the washroom. She's pretty passive for someone so selfish. I was very uncomfortable with taking Kanon out. The girls in the streets always point and whisper, and even the middle-aged salarymen look at us with pursed lips. Look, Kanon, can you take like 3 steps away from me?
嫌です。
Please? The situation is looking pretty bad right now.
もう、兄さんはネクラだな。そんなに注目されるのが嫌なのか？
Sure do. I'm petty like that.
こんなんじゃデートできないじゃないか。
She followed behind me, pouting. We eventually made it to the cafe I usually go to. Nevertheless, the waiter still recognized Kanon. His eyes shot open.
ここ、兄さんと前来たね。
You did?
1年前に。
I don't remember that.
あの時兄さんはのんちゃんに告白したんだよ。
Quit pulling my leg. She giggled and stuck out her tongue. What do you want to eat?
任せる。
I knew you were going to say that. I picked some random dishes and turned back to Kanon. Hey, what the? Wake up. You can't just sleep. Wait, you can't sleep here. She had suddenly closed her eyes.
あ、ごめん。瞑想の時間だなーっ
Girl,
て。
what? Meditation.
イメージトレーニングね。これ大事。飛べるっていう自信がつくの。踏み切り方、流れてる曲、飛んでる時、着地、全部成功した時のイメージするの。
Wait, so when you're sleeping in class, you're...
大概リンクの上にいるね。魂は。魂
Oh. I suddenly felt like giving her a few more respect points. You really are something else, aren't you?
すごいよ。のんちゃんが間違うことないもの。
That's a bold thing to say.
そうかな。みんな人が何言うかなんて興味なくない？何したかじゃない？
They care when it comes to someone as famous as you. When someone like you says even the littlest thing, the whole world gossips about it.
だから兄さんは好き。兄さんはブーブー言いながらなんだかんだでわがまま聞いてくれるもん。
While giggling, she reached over to try and poke my face. I pushed away her hand and continued. I know that you're always thinking about skating.
というかスケートしか知らないしできないの。
You're pretty laid back, you know that? Still, it's probably good to know what you can and cannot do. Why did you start skating?
コーチがやれって言ったから。
Now, that's a little too laid back. Was that your only reason?
それよく言われるな。みんなドラマ求めてくるな。
There's nothing wrong with people wanting to hear some great story about your introduction to skating.
強いて言えば
If you had to give a reason.
女の日本人でも世界一になれそうなスポーツだったからかな。
Foreigners and Japanese have radically different physiques, after all. And why did you have to be the world's best?
さあ、それもコーチが毎日言ってたからかな。
So it's all thanks to Ikuko-san's brilliant education.
だって毎晩寝る前に絶対自分のオリンピックの時のこと話すんだもの。
Ikuko-san came in 6th, right?
金メダルだったはずだって言ってるよ。当時はロシアとアメリカが仲悪かったからとか。
And what exactly do international politics have to do with getting the gold?
ちょっと前まで6点満点で審判の人が点数つけてたの。今みたいに技術を分析する人とかいなくて、審判の人の思い込みで大概決まってたの。
Right.
コーチが言うには、アメリカの審判がコーチに高い得点つけそうだったもんだから対抗してロシアの人が点数を下げたって。
Seemed like he was going to give a high score. What? Don't the judges, judge together at the same time? How would anyone know if the American judge was going to give a high
ロ
score?
ビージャッジングっていうのがあるの。リンクの外で大会の役員とか審判とかコーチとかがチャーシュバイて雑談してる中でなんとなく分かっちゃうんだって。
Oh, come on. If a judge came up with some ridiculous score, then his life as a judge will be over.
でも国に帰れば英雄だって。なんか怖いね。
Scary indeed, but the current judging system is fine, right?
どうかな。今その審査点方式に変わったばっかりだからね。選手もコーチも審判の人も慣れてないからね。ぶっちゃけのんちゃんも細かく知らない。
Whoa.
でも一人くらいいたずらしても無駄だよ。最高点と最低点をカットしてその後平均点を出すから。
But if half the judges cheat, then you'd be doomed.
のんちゃんが万が一負けたらまずそういうことだね。
She giggled. Filled to the brim with confidence until the very end. At that moment, her rice omelette arrived.
どれどれ、のんちゃんミシュランが星をつけてあげよう。
And just what do you plan on awarding your honors to?
まず兄さんのネクラド星0。
Why me?
あ、兄さんお箸取って。
You don't use chopsticks for omelets.
兄さんのツッコミ星0。
I'm getting mad now.
普通に言われたからね今。
Hurry up and eat. I have an appointment later this afternoon.
はーい。
The sun was already setting by the time the good news came. After escorting Kanon home, I went to the company headquarters to investigate the Shin'ei group's most recent movements. You found him? The call was from Horibe. Or Horibe, yeah. Apparently he'd already reported to Gonzo. I don't know.
坊ちゃん、つい今しがた野郎の餌が見つかりました。
Alrighty? I really have to hand it to these guys. I should have known their senses would be exceptionally sharp amongst these familiar streets. But even though you got his address, you still didn't catch him? Horibe continued as if ashamed.
ざっと経緯をお話ししますと、自分が目をかけてるシュウってのがいまして。
It went like this. A debtor told Shu that he had seen the accomplice. Shu had spread the word that any information would warrant a reward, and that debts could be nullified in part. It was only a verbal agreement, of course, but those ever-hungry souls, slaves of money, nevertheless mobilized with bloodshot eyes and searched for Mao's accomplice. An address turned up in the outskirts of the central district where my apartment was. Earlier this afternoon, as Shu was searching around, he stumbled upon his prey. Shu gave chase immediately, but was attacked as he turned the corner and lost his target. Afterward, Horibe rounded up a search team and put some brutal pressure on the people living nearby. After countless interrogations, they finally found the man's apartment.
シュウは頭にナイフぶっ刺されたみたいでしてね。ほんとまあ、やってくれますわ。
I can only imagine the cruel smile on Horibe's face right about now. Alright, I'll come join you right away.
野郎は西条ってもんです。どこ行ったのか知らねえが、ばっこれられると思ってるのかね。
Horibe's dark laugh screeched to a halt as I hung up. I immediately contacted Usami and headed towards the scene. "8 p.m. The place had already been searched. It was a cheap room in a cheap building, and it was utterly unsettling. Black. The table, cabinets, carpet, everything was pitch black. Construction paper was pasted over the windows, making it impossible for light to seep into the room. On one of the walls hung a scroll with the characters for Empire drawn in calligraphy. His shelves were lined with massive amounts of books in that same vein, probably serving to fuel his anti-societal ideals even further. The fact that everything was in neat order only added to the eeriness.
すみません、遅れまして。
Usami charged in, gasping for air. You're more than late. Was it your part-time job?
はい、今日ばっかりは休めませんで。で、どうなりました？
I gave her a rundown of what happened.
なるほど、西条というお名前で。で、ヤクザの皆さんは？
Horibe is leading them to Tokyo Station right now.
東京駅？新幹線ですか？
Yeah, apparently the punk is trying to escape to Hakata.
博多っていうと民じゃないですか。
Hakata. Fukuoka, you idiot. Why did you think of ancient China?
しかし、どうして行方が分かったんです？
I searched the creep's room just now. Horibe didn't touch anything once he saw the room was empty and left the rights to search it to me. The first thing we noticed was that the safe had been emptied. The door was left open, and there was nothing but a seal stamp left inside. The closet was open too, and clothes were scattered everywhere.
なるほど。荷物一式持って逃げ去ったと。で、どうして豚骨ラーメンの国へ逃げたと？
The computer was still on. He really was in a rush. And he was online too. The browser was still open.
西条は逃げる直前まで何のサイトを見ていたんですか？
The blog of some random entertainer.
まさか藤原。でも、それはフェイクでしょ？
I thought so too, so I checked his history.
さすがです。
That brought me straight to the Japan Railways website. I also looked at his search strings and discovered that he had looked up information about getting a seat on a bullet train to Hakata.
今8時ですが、西条はもうとっくに新幹線の中ですか？
I'm afraid so. The creep left at 4:30.
4時半。それまたどうして？
His phone. I hit redial and a taxi company picked up.
なるほど。会社に問い合わせてみたところ、西条は4時半頃にタクシーを1台、アパートの前に手配していたんですね。
It takes around an hour and a half to get to Tokyo by taxi. Less than that if you change to a train somewhere along the way.
今8時ですか。困りましたね。
I don't know if we'll make it or not, but I sent a few people to Haneda Airport in Tokyo.
新幹線で5時間の道のりも飛行機なら1時間半くらいですからね。なるほど。博多駅で待ち伏せするわけですね。さすがに浅井さんは手際がいい。
Usami nodded in appreciation, but then lifted her finger.
しかし、落とし穴がありますね。
I know, he searched for the bullet train line which terminates at Hakata, but that doesn't mean he's going to get off at Hakata.
素晴らしい。
All we know is the name of the train line Saijou searched for. I sent people to Yokohama, Nagoya, Osaka, and all the other stations to cover all the bases. The Zaigonzo's Sonoyama group is a huge organization with over 1,000 people. Certainly, one would need a good number of people in order to secure so many exits, but these people almost lost a blood brother to this man. Thus, no matter how long the journey is, they would bear the suffering. Still, if you really escape to Western Japan, we're in quite a bit of trouble.
はあ、ヤクザさんには領土ってのがあるんでしょうね。
She's right, though. In Akata, which isn't part of our territory, solo men can't just go around grabbing people off the streets like they do here.
だからこそ博多ですか。明太子も美味しいですしね。なかなか考えていますね。
She bent down as she joked around. Oh, what are you doing now?
ゴミ漁りです。
Don't tell me you're hunting for clues.
ええ、部屋の中は浅井さんがしっかりと確認してくださったと信じていますので、自分は汚れ担当ということで。
Waiting in the putrid pile of garbage, she tore open bags with a perfectly calm expression.
ありました。大日本がどうとか書かれたノートの端切れです。この袋が西条の出したゴミですね。なるほど。やはり。
Huh? You knew what?
いえ、西条は魔王に指示された内容以外では割と無防備なのではないかと思いまして。魔王のレールの設計図はともかく、レールを敷いている人間がミスを犯していることに期待します。特にゴミです。普通に生活している分には気にもしないでしょうが、ゴミの山は証拠の山です。
She plunged her hand into the bag, closely examining the contents. A mountain of evidence, but Saijou's already on a bullet train.
ええ。浅井さんの言うことには一応の筋は通ってますね。
Is there something still bugging you?
できすぎているような気がするんですよ。うわ、くさ。お風呂たっぷり入んなきゃ。
Hey, what are you calling easy?
パソコンの電源を消し忘れるほど慌ててたんなら、最初からつけなきゃいいのにと。芸能人のブログなんてフェイクをかましてくれたわけでしょ。本当に慌ててたんですかね。
She has a point. There was no real need for him to check the railway website from his own room. It'd be far safer to find a random internet cafe while on the move and search for information there.
そもそも新幹線の空席情報なんて調べますかね。年末ならともかく自由席なら立ってでも乗れますし。
That's logical.
しかし西条の心理的になるべく遠くに逃げたいと思っていても不思議はないです。人間テンパると何するか分かりませんし。
Perhaps I was a little hurried too. Sorry, I guess I was so focused on getting the clues that I got careless. There's a good chance that Mao's true goal was to mislead us into thinking that his man was on his way to Akata. Usami didn't speak, but merely shook her head in response. Suddenly, her face stiffened. She picked up a piece of paper.
浅井さんたちは何時くらいにこのアパートに来たんですか？
I showed up a little after 6. Uribe got here a bit earlier. Usami stared at the dirty piece of paper.
本日5時頃配達に伺いましたが、留守でしたので、とありますね。
What the? Someone left him a note? Usami nodded.
不在票を捨てたということは、西条は少なくとも5時過ぎまでは家にいたということです。
That's right. If Saijou had left at 4:30 as I had guessed, then the note would be in the mailbox, not in the garbage. The cab was bait. He only called it. He never got in.
いえ、乗車して少しの距離を走ったところで降りたのでしょう。そうしないとタクシー会社の人も浅井さんに何か言うはずです。
I wish I had asked for the specific drop-off location when I called. No, I'm not the police. There's no reason for them to tell me. He got out nearby, and when he got back to his room, the note was there, right?
ええ。しかしこれは大きな手がかりです。
Ooh, Usami clenched the note in her hands and stood up. If you didn't get the package, then that means Saijou might come back for it.
それは考えにくいですね。ヤクザさんに追われているという事実は揺るがないのですから。
So, you mean...
はい。荷物の配送先こそ、西条の新しい潜伏先です。
Usami took out her phone and dialed a number on the ticket.
あ、もしもし。ええ。伝票番号ですね。はいはい。265。
It looks like she's being forwarded to speak with the driver directly.
ええ、先ほど再配達をお願いしましたね。あ、私は西条の妹です。ええ。兄はどこに荷物を届けさせましたかね。兄が忘れちゃったみたいで。はい。中央区のプラザホテルですか。そうですか。ありがとうございました。あ、いえいえ。そのままそこに届けてください。
The call ended. The Plaza Hotel?
ええ。わかりますか？
I do. I'll send some people over there right now.
お願いします。出入り口をしっかり固めて、ぜひとも捕まえなければ。
Alright, I'll give Gonzo the scoop and ask for more men. After sending Haribe and the rest of them on a wild goose chase, I'll have to personally apologize anyway.
わかりました。それでは。
Usami handsomely dashed out into the night road. Well then, I suppose I've got things to do too. It's not like there aren't any variables whatsoever. Naturally, my plan is perfect, but the choice of executor maybe presents some problems. Or executor, I don't know. The phone in my chest pocket began vibrating. Yeah, that was executor. Yeah. It was my loyal prince of hell, Mephistopheles, Saijou. Did you delete the email I sent you?
ああ、きちんとパソコンから消去した。
However, if the police become involved, they may be able to recover deleted data. I'll just remove the computer entirely from his room later. What do you think of the hotel? I hope you're satisfied with their accommodations. Saijou seems to be very upset.
気を悪くしないでほしい。魔王の実力を疑うわけではないが、本当に大丈夫なのだろうか。
Whatever do you mean?
連中の嗅覚は生半可なものではない。ヤクザどもはすでに私のアパートを探し出しているだろう。
That's correct, but didn't you foresee this and lay traps?
ああ、しかしヤクザどもは気づいてくれるだろうか。
If they can't even solve a problem on that level, then there's no need to worry about them.
そう言われると安心する。いや、すまなかった。
It's still too early to relax. There will be no problems, I promise you. As long as you don't make any stupid mistakes, that is.
それで次の計画だが。
Right, I didn't finish last time. Haru stood silently on a sidewalk outside of the hotel, staring at the entrance completely still. Kyousuke had called moments ago. Kyousuke had to accompany Gonzo, so he couldn't come to the hotel personally. However, he sent every nearby member of the Sonoyama group to her aid. The young men sitting on the guardrail looked like they were playing on their cell phones, but each and every one of them was actually watching the hotel's entrance. After 10 o'clock, a sea of people thinned out, and almost 20 devilish-looking men appeared. After a few words of greeting, they immediately began preparations for raiding the room. The underground parking lot, the 4 exits of the hotel, and the fire exits were all covered. All possible escape routes had been sealed. Perhaps the men simply had incredible discipline, as they all set out to do their respective duties without a word of complaint. Someone had already gone in disguised as a would-be guest and got Saijou's room number from the front desk. The only thing left was to charge in. was detergent. Haru's thoughts raced as she walked along the hotel's marble hall. Silence reigned over everything. Perhaps it was simply excellent insulation, but not a speck of sound escaped from the numerous doors. Why did Mao choose to work with Saijou? With an accomplice, a criminal can achieve much more, for sure. However, at the same time, more issues also arise. Often, a brilliant plan by a brilliant criminal is ruined by a stupid henchman. Things just didn't add up. Naturally, Mao had thought this out. He would have properly planned ahead of time. Even if Saijou did get captured, he would still make his escape. Nevertheless, bits and pieces of his plan would be pried from his accomplice's mouth. So why? A man escorting her murmured. He was a portly man. A golden chain gently dangled around his fat neck. Before Haru knew, she was already in front of the room that Saijou had reserved. Words softly floated from her mouth.
ノックしてもらえますか？自分がドアの覗き穴の前に立ちます。
Saijou already knows what Haru looks like. Even so, her image would be less apt to cause a panic than that of a Yakuza thug. She took out a white scarf from her skirt pocket and applied a bit of makeup. If she brings her face really close to the door, then the person inside won't see her clothes. Her fat entourage stood in front of the door and made a light fist. He knocked. What's going on? My grip tightened on the phone I was speaking to Saijou with.
今ノックがあった
At this hour?
あルームサービスだろうか
Be careful. Take a good look at them through the peephole first. Saijou's breathing dominated the phone signal for a few moments.
女だな若い
A woman.
白い帽子だろうか服装はよく見えないな
Surely it isn't. Do you recognize her? He saw Usami once at the harbor.
ないな
A vague answer. I remembered Usami's outrageous hair. Perhaps this was all within her calculations, but without that hair, the girl would look radically different.
届け物だろうか
Don't count on it. I spoke flatly. I'd never known a delivery person to bring something at midnight. Perhaps sensing my caution, Saijou also lowered his voice.
どうする
Does she have any intention of leaving?
ないなじっとこっちを見てる微動だにしないと言っていい
If that's Usami, then why? A shiver crawled over my body. How could she possibly have discovered this hotel? I have something to ask you. This may be the last time I speak to Saijou. Did you clear out all the garbage in the room?
もちろんだ部屋に残さずゴミ袋に詰めてゴミ捨て場に投棄した
Then answer her. Open the door.
いいのか
Yes.
分かった一度電話を切るぞ
Right. There's no other way. If they've chased him this far, there's nowhere to run. Those Yakuza, the Soa Alliance, will have already sealed off all exits. Not even a drop of water can escape their barricades. Locking himself in would only buy time. The knocking continued, but after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there was still no answer. She couldn't even feel the presence of a living person in there. Though she'd begun to waver, Haru contacted the front desk. She suggested that the man inside might have collapsed. The management informed her shortly thereafter that no one was answering the phone either. After telling them of her intentions to check inside the room, a building manager finally came to meet her with a set of keys. The door swung open. Why? Haru bit her lip hard as crushing defeat knotted her heart. My terrible assumptions were unfounded. The phone rang once more.
魔王 大したことじゃなかった。
Saijou wouldn't call so quickly after being apprehended. I can safely posit that he's safe.
フロントの者が私が落としたパスポートを部屋まで届けに来てくれただけだった。すまない。
That's probably because you packed your things in such a hurry. Nonetheless, it's good that nothing happened.
どうしてこのビジネスホテルの場所が分かったのかと肝が冷えたよ。
Your pursuers should be dashing to the Central District's Plaza Hotel right about now. I was just worrying too much. In other words, I had overestimated Usami. Usami could only go as far as the Plaza Hotel. She couldn't possibly have predicted that Saijou might be in this cheap hotel in the Eastern District.
あえてミスを装えと魔王は言ったな。
Yes, ever since the incident at the arena, they had begun to underestimate you.
魔王の助けがなければこうまでうまく逃げられなかっただろう。よくとっさにあんな手を思いつくものだな。
You were the one who told me your luggage was set to be delivered this afternoon, correct? That was a great help. The delivery notice was left as bait. The delivery man was sent to the wrong hotel on purpose. To a hotel where Saijou checked in, but never stayed. Instead, Saijou went into the Plaza Hotel and entered his room once, and then he left immediately and went to the Eastern District.
私は今度こそ魔王の指示通り全てをやってのけた。博多駅を匂わせるようなウェブサイトを巡り、検索エンジンにも履歴を残し、最後は芸能人のブログを開いておいた。
Don't forget the cab at 4:30. That way, even the Yakuza could infer that you were going to Okada.
けれど、実際にはタクシーはすぐに降りてアパートまで戻る。そして不在票を手に入れる。
It was a bit of a dramatic masterpiece, a play that suggested he had left despite staying right where he was.
不在票をゴミ袋に詰めて捨てれば、私のミスを探していた連中が必ず探し当てて宅配業者に連絡すると。
Usami's limit was right there.
裏の裏を書いたわけだな。
You left her the clues. All we really gauged was how Usami would interpret them. In the end, the children found an answer and, intoxicated with happiness, stopped searching for the truth. The Yakuza heading for Okada, Usami heading for the hotel, were all the same.
鮮やかなものだな、魔王。
Oh, please. That wasn't modesty. Do you know of Zhu Liang's empty fort strategy? At first glance, it's a brilliant tactic with a ruse within a ruse, but it's actually nothing more than a pathetic getaway scheme. In the end, the fact that Saijou was being chased by the Solo Alliance hadn't changed. It doesn't really matter whether or not this battle was won. Well then, let's continue.
ああ、その宇佐美という少女だったな。
I mustered all the coldness I could. Let's kill her.
It's 揃いも揃って使えねえやつらだな。
すいません。
Yeah, we're real sorry. Eiichi put on airs of importance the next afternoon.
一体いつになったら女紹介してくれんだよ、宇佐美さんよ。
ですから近日中に。
もういい加減正体バラっちゃうけどさ、俺ちゃんって相当な罠なんだよ。穴があったら入れたい年頃なんだよ。もう待てないっつうの。
It's only been 2 days, and he's already impatient as heck. Alright, tell you what, I'll help you find your dream girl.
今日のところはご勘弁を。
This Joker's mood is just a disaster today. What's got you all riled up this time?
いやお昨日久しぶりに親父と飯食ってたのよ。
You have a dad?
あれ、確か施設で育ったとか聞きましたけど。
んなもんは全部ブラフだよ。僕の親父はホテルのオーナーやってるよ。
Seriously?
中央区のプラザホテルもグランドホテルもトップオブトマン別も全部親父のもんだよ。
Oh, you're joking. I mean,
嘘だと思うなら今度一泊させてあげようか。
I glanced at Usami.
マジっぽいっすね。
I didn't know at all. I have heard of a hotel owner named Aizawa before. But who would ever believe that he was actually Iichi's father? Wait a second. So for all that calling me rich and pampered, you grew up in a wealthy household too?
おめえと違って親父は厳しいんだよ。爬虫類禁止だぞうちは。ありえなくね？
I see.
それでその親父がよ、夜中の2時くらいに帰ってきたと思ったら仕事の愚痴を始めやがってよ。
プラザホテルのことですか？
なんかさ、客の一人が消えたらしいんよ。確かにチェックインしてるんだけど電話も繋がらないし住所もデタラメでさ、これ警察もんだなと思ったら部屋のキーも宿泊代もベッドの下にあったんだってさ。
You didn't call the police, did you? There was nothing stolen or anything after all.
親父に言われたよ。あんなもんでホテルの評判悪くなったら客が来なくなるだろうが、ついでにそんな現場の話をいちいちオーナーの俺様にあげてくんなってな。俺に言わせればそんな仕事の話をいちいち息子にあげてくんなっつうの。それは俺も飛行に走るわ。
Oh, come on. Your father's a good person. You should take a lesson from him.
おめえらボンプには理解できない悩みだろうな。
Ichi just kept on sulking. Nothing would stop him now. Okay, it's picking up between Usami and him. So that means we're
ご
completely
迷
played.
惑をおかけしまして。
After class was over, Usami and I held a strategy meeting. About that Saijou.
はい。
I asked Gonzo about his so-called Great Japan Revolutionary School. He said he'd never heard of it.
よほど規模が小さいのでしょうか。
Who knows? Those organizations are a dime a dozen.
では組織の線から西条を追うのは難しそうですね。
Yeah. In the meantime, Haribe and his crew are combing through the inner city's hotels. And not just hotels, but subway stations, underbridges, and any other places a person might be staying. They're even checking vacant office buildings.
西条はすでに県外に逃亡している可能性もありますが。
Yeah, I hear you. The creep's probably scared to death of the power of the Solo Alliance by now. Seeing as how that might be the case, Gonzo issued orders last night and sent over 100 people out of the prefecture to cooperate with the local gangs and collect information about Mao and Saijou. When you tack on the upcoming battle with the Shin'ei group, the Sonoyama group has its hands full.
私にできることといえば。
Isn't waiting for news the only thing to do? To be more precise, since we failed last time, we can't make rash movements anymore.
原点に帰りましょう。カノンは NKH 杯で優勝しました。魔王の言いつけを無視した以上、母親の育子さんの命が狙われているはずです。
That's why we're searching for Saijou in the first place.
ですよね。
She's being kind of vague about this. Saijou's a chess piece Mao prepared for this match. The use of the accomplice represents a potential risk, but also a corresponding return to go along with that risk.
つまり共犯者がいて初めて成り立つ手口で育子さんを狙っていると？
We have to work under that assumption. If Mao could do it himself all along, there'd be no need to recruit someone else. Therefore, Saijou must still be within the city. Isn't that right?
やっぱりそうですよね。西条を捕まえれば魔王の計画を破綻させられるかもしれない。
I sneered. What's wrong? Getting depressed already?
あ、いえいえ、まさか。自分がナイーブになったのは財布を落とした時とペンギンも交尾をすると知った時です。
This girl's got a screw loose.
自分はもう一度西条のアパートを漁ってみるとします。
Alright, don't do anything rash.
分かっています。一応私も被害者候補の一人ですからね。
After her statement, Usami prepared to head home. Okay. Ooh. Bye.